Good morning.
Good morning.
We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
Do you have a desire that is particularly active right now?
Yes.
Something that matters? Does it feel good to you?
Yes.
You've been here before. Well, that's an important thing, because when your desire feels good to you, and usually it's a newly hatched one if it's still feeling good, if it's one that you've been dragging around with you for a while, you don't like it as much as you pretend, because you're so beautiful in your physicalness. You want manifestations. You want your desires to be seeable and hearable and smellable and tasteable and touchable. And until they manifest, so that not only can you experience them through your physical senses, you want others to be able to do that too. That's how you validate yourself in so many cases. I have accomplished this, see it? And so that's what trips you up a good deal of the time, is that you want your manifestations, and we want them for you too. You are leading edge creators. You are in an environment where your thoughts do turn to things. And so we are not in any way wanting to talk you out of manifesting dollars and relationships and the beautiful things that you want to experience. We just want you to understand that if the manifestation is what's most important to you, and it hasn't happened yet, but it's most important to you, but it hasn't happened yet, but it's most important to you, then you are, if you're like most people, focused upon something that hasn't happened that's really important to you. So you're focused upon the absence of what you want. You're calibrating to it not being there. You don't mean to, but you can't help but notice it's not there. It's not there yet, or it was there and it got away. Or it's never been there, so you don't think it's coming. As we are playing together today, we want you to come to the realization that there are many desires that you could hold, that you could accomplish in this moment, and they are emotional desires. They are desires about feeling interest or feeling enthusiastic or feeling love or appreciation. These are desires about emotional states of being that you can accomplish now. You don't have to live in the absence of them. And if you will begin to look for things that produce within you the response of a positive, good feeling emotion, then you will be calibrating, you will be focused, calibrating a vibrational match to who you really are and what you really want. And therefore, in that state, you will be open to letting in what you do want in all regards. You cannot want something that you don't have and be taking score all day, every day about whether you have it or not, without calibrating against your own desire and best interest. Does that make sense to you? Because this is a universe that is based on attraction only. It's attraction only. No one's doing anything to you. No one's preventing anything from you. It's attraction, which you are letting in or not. So if you've got stuff happening that you don't want, you're attracting it. If you've got stuff you do want, you're attracting it. If you've got things that you want that you're not letting in, you are attracting the absence of those things. You are attracting by your attention to the absence. And so the word calibrate is our new favorite word that Esther has found to explain to you. She was talking to a friend who really gave her the word, speaking in terms of calibrating a guitar, calibrating the harmonics of an instrument to other instruments. If you're playing in an orchestra, no matter how big or small it is, and you're not in tune with the others that you're playing with, then it is discordant. And so the word calibrate is just the best word. But what is it that you are wanting to calibrate to? Well, we're going to take a very brief moment, because we know that you've been listening to us for a while, in most cases, and you have a strong sense of this, but we're going to lay this basis really quickly. You are more than you see in these bodies. You are source energy, and in this body you are an extension of that source energy. If you were all day long deliberately calibrating to that source that is at the basis of you, not just the basis of you, but to the furthermost extended part of you, then you would be calibrating to the wholeness of you, and you would therefore be in concert with all of your power and all of your expectation of good things for you, and you would be thriving in every aspect of your life experience. That source energy part of you from which you have come exists in non-physical, in that you can't see it, but is consciousness that is always aware of you. And that's what we meant when we said not just the source of where you came from, but infinitely tied to where you are now, in the sense that whenever you know what you don't want, you launch an equivalent vibrational wave, you might say, about what you do want. And your inner being, that source within you, calibrates to these new requests and new decisions all day, every day. So you are literally causing that non-physical part of you to expand. To be really fair, you're causing yourself to expand. But because you're so often in your human form pinched off from that part of you, we call that your inner being in relationship to you, even though you were the same thing and technically are the same thing, except when you're not the same thing. You are the same thing as your inner being unless you're not. You might want to write that down. And when you're not the same thing as your inner being, negative emotion is present as the indicator that you're not letting yourself be calibrated to who you really are. When you're angry with someone, you're not who you are. You've pinched yourself off. Esther says to us, well, Abraham, clearly you need more information about that person. If we were meeting someone for the very first time who was just now starting to get a whiff that they wanted to be the deliberate creator of their own life experience and had just an inkling of an idea that it could be, this is the story that we would tell to them that we think would be the easiest for someone like that to hear. You are more than you know, but you've probably suspected that for a long time. But I mean, no, you are really, 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 really different than you know yourself to be. You're so much smarter and so much wiser, and you have so much more that you deserve. You have so much vibrational credentials and stuff saved up for you. There is so much good that you are entitled to. There is so much well-being that you were born knowing was yours. It's a legacy. It's gifts. It's a legacy of well-being that is huge. And I know you don't know it. I know you don't know it very well because things around you have made you think otherwise, but I know this about you. So if I were standing in your physical shoes, we would say to them, if we were standing in your physical shoes, if I were standing in your physical shoes, I would let myself hope for outrageously wonderful things to come to me. And I would test the universe. I would say, universe, if I'm so good, show me. If I'm so worthy, show me. Not if I'm so bad, make it better. That's the opposite. That doesn't work. If I'm so good, show me. If I am a blessed being, then let the blessings start pouring into my experience. If I'm wise, let me be smart. If I'm blessed, then I want to be happy. This is a story that we would tell to them. You just got to play this game a little bit differently than you've been playing it. And just the slightest little shift in understanding who you are. Now, people come to a gathering like this, and Esther gives herself over to us and allows herself to express the vibration through words that we are emitting to her in a close to flawless way. She rarely requires a let's start that over again. Usually these days she's getting it right where we mean it to be, in the first words out of her mouth. And so those like you listen with varying degrees of interest or opinions about it. But for some, Esther appears to be someone really sure of herself and clearly thriving and happy, who is expressing maybe opinions just like a whole lot of people on the planet are expressing opinions, and offering some processes or some ways of looking at things that in most cases, like with most people, you could take or leave. And we get that because words don't teach. But we also know that as you listen and allow yourself to calibrate to who you really are, to that greater knowing, to that eternal knowing, and if you pick something up like, well, I think I'll meditate, I think I'll quiet my mind, I think I will just focus on the air conditioner for a little bit and see what happens, and see if I can feel some vibration moving within me, and see if I can feel any movement in my physical body. Maybe I'll just meditate and see what happens with that. And maybe I will segment and tend. Maybe I will get out ahead of it just a little bit. So you do some exercises that cause you to release resistance. And when you do that, your vibration rises. And when your vibration rises, now you are in perfect concert with the flow of who you really are. And now your valve is wide open. And now what your inner being knows about this and that and this and that and this and that is known by you. So you find yourself daydreaming something, you find yourself having a thought about something, and you follow the thread of that good feeling thought, and then something happens. A result from that changed thought is noticed by you. So now this isn't just theory, it just isn't somebody else's opinion. This is you. This is you deliberately releasing resistance, and you deliberately raising vibration. And this is you experiencing the result of that. And now you know. You never go back from that knowing. It doesn't mean you apply it every time. It doesn't mean that you get it right where you want it to be the first crack of every box. That's not what we mean at all. But it does mean you have the knowledge of how it works because you have shown it to yourself. You've had negative thoughts and negative emotions, and you've seen where it's gone. You've deliberately found positive thoughts and positive emotions, and you've seen where it's gone. You are empowered with these laws of the universe, and you are supported by an enormous non-physical contingency that is there for you every time in every moment. So much so that as you begin moving through life with this deliberate intent, your moments are so full of this insight and this insight and this insight and this insight. It's not up and down and all around. It's not mostly bad and occasionally good. It's good and good and good and good. It's clear. It's fun. It's more. It's exhilarating. It's life. You get hooked on that, you see. It doesn't take very much for you to come back to who you really are. And you know why? Because you, as you came into this experience, were calibrated to your goodness. You were calibrated to source energy. You are calibrated to love. You're calibrated to well-being. That's your natural default position. That's who you are. That's what you're calibrated to. And this other stuff you've learned along your physical trail does not mean diddly squat in comparison with that. It's easy to hook into that. And it's easy to maintain it now that you know what you know. We've loved every minute of this conversation today. We've appreciated everything that you've brought, whether you brought it with words or just thought it out there in the room. Things are so good for you, you don't even know how good they are, and we know because we've seen your vortices. So be easy about it. There's nothing that you should be doing that you're not doing. You can't get it wrong. Just take it easy and start having more fun and be nicer to yourself. And anybody else you feel like being nicer to, but mostly be nicer to yourself. Be nicer to yourself. No more manipulating. No more trying to get people to respond to you. Calibrate to the whole of who you are.